starting this video because it's going to be a dry subject with Frank. Can you say hi to everybody, Frank? He's taking his 80th nap of the morning. Okay, now that we've had the fun part. Why did Baldoni, and he, by the way, it's not just him, it's Wayfarer, his studio, and I think Heath, and the PR people and whatever, but I know only people care about Baldoni. Why did they sue in California, and how could they sue in California? As to why, I don't know. It could be something as banal as his lawyers aren't barred in New York and they don't want to have to like hire local counsel because that costs more money. I mean, it could be that banal. His lawyer seems to be a pretty big deal lawyer though, so that would surprise me. It could be that New York courts are friendly to the New York Times. Or at the very least, the people in the publishing First Amendment litigation community in New York all know each other, right? When a lawyer goes into a court that they don't normally practice in, sometimes you worry about what we call getting hometowned, which is all of the lawyers and the judges and everybody knows each other already, and they're all wheeling and dealing and making deals, and the judge is calling the other side's lawyer by his first name, and you're like, oh my God, I'm totally the outsider here. And it sucks. So maybe they just didn't want to get hometowned. I do think, generally speaking, this complaint was, at least in part, a brushback pitch, like I said before, to the rest of media to say, we're not scared of you. We'll sue you. You know, maybe filing it in California makes TMZ take a beat because they're in California. I don't know. There could be all kinds of strategic reasons. How? How can you sue a New York company in California? Bear with me. This is one of those parts of litigation that's process-based and can be a little boring, but I'm going to do my best not to, to keep everybody awake. So to sue somebody civilly in a court, you have to establish that that court has both jurisdiction over the issue that you're suing over and the people that you're suing. The first one is called subject matter jurisdiction, and the second one is called personal jurisdiction. You can't just sue anybody for anything in any court. There are all kinds of rules in the federal system and in the 50 different state systems about who you can sue where and for what. The subject matter jurisdiction stuff, that's for a whole nother video because that goes crazy. But on the personal jurisdiction part, how can he sue a New York newspaper in California? Well, all you have to show to be able to sue a company in a state is to show that they do business there. So if the New York Times does any business in California, it's called sufficient contacts. If you have sufficient contacts with a state, then that state's courts have personal jurisdiction over you to litigate matters of civil law. And what they've alleged in this complaint is that the New York Times does business in California, which I'm guessing it probably does. Not everybody can be sued in all 50 states, right? Like, I have never been to Alaska. I've never Frank is snoring again. I've never done business there. I've never been on vacation there. I've never stepped foot in there. I've never even sent an email to there, right? I've never bought anything from an Alaskan website. I have no contacts with the state of Alaska. So no one could sue me in Alaskan courts. They have no personal jurisdiction over me. But if I opened a business and I put up a kiosk in Juneau, Alaska about my business, boom, now I can be sued in Alaskan courts. So what he's alleging is that the New York Times does business in California, and I'm pretty sure it does. I think they even have a bureau out there. The other thing you have to show is venue, which is more about convenience, and that one's a little weird. Like, that's the one that makes me think maybe they don't really want this to go to trial, because in terms of like, where's the trial going to take place and who are the witnesses and all that, California is kind of a weird place. I'm going to do a separate video on Depp versus Heard because there's just so many parallels, but like, I use that one a lot to teach some of these process issues. So this is a really good corollary. So Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard for defamation in Virginia. even though they both lived in California. And he has like houses in the Bahamas and stuff like that. But he sued her in Virginia. And everyone's like, how could he do that? And the reason he could do that is because he was able to establish sufficient contacts between Amber Heard and the state of Virginia, because the op-ed that she wrote that was the subject of his defamation claim was from the Washington Post. And the Washington Post operates in Virginia. And the servers on which they keep the information that then goes into their online publishing, those servers take place in Virginia. Right? So by publishing the article, the op-ed, in a Virginia-based newspaper, she subjected herself to the courts of Virginia. Okay, so that's jurisdiction. That's why and how. If anybody has questions about that, God help me, you never know what people are going to find interesting. I'm happy to answer them. But I think that's the how of filing a New York Times case in LA.